Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. In today's video, we are going to be talking about what shotgun I would go with if I could only choose one. And before we get this video started, I have no sponsors to the channel right now. You guys know the deal. I'm looking for you to hit subscribe and comment down below. The comments do help out the algorithm. I'd be lying if I said they didn't, but for my interest, it gives me a lot of motivation to keep these videos cranking out for you guys every single day. Aside of the support for this channel, I do have a B channel, FF Lifestyle. It is so fun for me to do that B channel, but it's not for everybody, okay? It is not gun-related content. It is action, adventure-packed content from skateboarding, longboarding, snowboarding, fitness-related content, car reviews, mountain biking stuff, hiking. Can you get any better than all that stuff? There has to be something over there that one of you might enjoy. I'm sitting right around 475 subs right now, and I am seriously trying to get to 1,000. It would be a huge accomplishment, so if you guys want to hit the card up in the right-hand corner of your screen and just try it out, I would seriously appreciate it. You guys know I had to do it. I'm surprised I have not done a video like this yet, and I could have. I'm not gonna lie, I could have and forgot. I got almost 700 videos on the channel, so there is a very strong possibility that something like this has done before. And I am pretty confident in my answer. And I know I'm going to be showing like 3 shotguns, but it all goes to the point, okay? It all goes to the point. And yes, spoiler alert, the one that I would choose would be this guy here. Without any other further ado, what would be the one shotgun of choice? It's gotta be, dude. It's got to be a vintage 870. I am just as freaking shocked by that answer. Truly, if you would have asked me this question when I may have owned like one shotgun, I would have said Mossberg 100% of the time. In fact, when I was working the gun shops in the early days, again, of not doing a whole lot of shotgunning other than when I was a kid, I said Mossberg to many people. And you got to realize this was at a time where Freedom Group was at its prime destruction ages of just messing up the industry. And Remingtons at that time were just horrible, modern Remington. So we kind of had it in our brains at the time in the industry to only go Mossberg. And then when I really dived into the shotgun world, and I always heard glorious things about old school Remington 870s and 870 Wingmasters from back in the day, pre-Freedom Group era, and I had never really had a ton of hands-on owning experience of one. I finally now have a plethora of pre-Freedom Group 870s, and holy hell, man, they are some of the best and smoothest shotguns I have ever experienced in my life. Truly, truly. I say that without a shadow of a doubt. I have 4 or 5 Mossbergs. A Mossberg 500 was actually my first shotgun, and that is why it really held a special place in my heart and why I always I wanted to go Mossberg. But the more that I utilize the controls of an 870, and that's kind of what we're going to get into first, the more that I realized, although yes, you have to break your firing grip slightly to get to that action arm release or whatever you want to call it, bolt release, I actually grew to prefer this release in front of the trigger guard. And I'll be 100% honest with you guys, I don't even necessarily know if there's a reason for that. I just like it. The Mossberg release being underneath the trigger guard is definitely slightly more ergonomic, and if you would have asked me just off sheer practical ability, that seems much more practical. But in use, at the range, I don't know if it's just I have more repetitions now with the 870, but I actually have grown to prefer the release in the front of the trigger guard. And again, that's just been my preference. That's really not saying that there's necessarily a right or a wrong with that, but this has absolutely been my preference. What I always thought to be my preference of the Mossberg safety on the rear of the receiver, on the tang, essentially, of the receiver being my preference. Again, I actually grew so accustomed to the push button safety on the Remington 870 that I actually grew to prefer that over the tang safety. I do feel that this now, after many hundreds, if not at this point, thousands of rounds, I kind of feel like this is a little bit more of a superior safety style. It's easy for me to get to. Now, this is probably because I primarily shoot standard rifle stocks, but I mean, I think the push button shines even with the pistol grip stock. You really don't have to worry about, it's on the tang. If I go with a pistol grip, I'm not going to be able to get to that safety. And maybe that's why I started to prefer the push button. But either way, this has now become my preference, and the metal trigger housing and the metal safety of an old 870, and there's really not a specific age here. Anything pre-Freedom Group, you're gonna be in a good spot. The other reason why I would choose a old Remington 870 time and time again is because it can be found as cheap as a piece of shit Turkish shotgun these days. It amazes me every time. You can go to Broker or Atlantic Firearms or any other outlet and find police surplus 870s these days. Yes, they're draining in how prevalent they are, but they are 100% still out there, usually in the ballpark of like $399 or below. I've seen some like $349. You can get on Broker. Prices will be a little bit higher. You're probably going to be in like the $500. But ironically, shotguns like this are almost always cheaper than Freedom Group era 870s, which is shocking to me every single time. I am going to be showcasing just the kind of a plethora of 870 videos in the B-roll of this. So you're going to be seeing from start to finish just this shotgun, this AOW, and then also one other one, which is this modern 870. Now, I don't know what the hell is going on with Remington as we speak, because for a hot minute there, all of a sudden, like 3 years ago, Remington, no longer owned by Freedom Group, started cranking out these shotguns again. They did this awesome retrograde. This has been one of my favorite shotguns of modern times. I absolutely love everything about this shotgun, and the fit and finish has been astoundingly good compared to Freedom Group shotguns. It is nowhere near as smooth as an old 870, but it's a great shotgun, and it was a crazy low price. But then all of a sudden, they're like nowhere to be found. So I don't know what's going on. Like if you go to distribution, Remington shotguns right now, there's like 0 on hand for every single model that they make. So I don't know what's going on with this, but my example of a modern Remington 870, and this includes also my TAC 14, which I'll be showing videos of. That's been a great shotgun. So I think if you go with the modern 870, you're probably still going to be fine. But when it comes down to it, it just doesn't even make a lot of sense to do that when a vintage 870 is available. And in my experience, if you see this chromed out bolt and a blued receiver, you are going to have a buttery smooth gun. And the only thing you may need to swap out is the magazine spring. Those go out quite frequently on these 870s. This shotgun right here needs a new magazine spring. A lot of the time with shotguns, it's weird. Any other magazine is just fine keeping loaded because you can only wear a magazine, usually, I'm not an engineer, but by compressing and extending the spring over and over again. For whatever reason, with shotgun magazine tubes, they do dramatically wear the spring just by being left loaded for long extended periods of time. Other than that, they're pretty freaking bomb-proof. And I brought this AOW on the table as an example of just how customizable an 870 is and really where the deal is. This thing was $225, my guy, $225. Like, you're not going to find a modern shotgun that's $220. You're talking like Stevens 320 prices for an absolutely buttery smooth 870. Like, that just, man, that gets me, that about almost gets me too excited here, okay? I gotta tone it back a little bit. It started its life with a crazy long, like 30-inch barrel on this thing and a 2x4 as a stock. Yes, that is not super appealing, but the beauty of these shotguns, you could super easily purchase that, lop the barrel off, 18.5, get a normal stock. There's a million 870 stocks available out there, and you have an incredible bomb-proof home defense shotgun right out the gate. Right out the gate. You could take it to a shotgun class. You could do whatever you wanted to do for sub 300. That is why, without a doubt, an older 870 would be my choice. A lot of you guys are probably screaming from the rooftops, what about the old Mossbergs? What about the old Mossbergs? I am going to be as brutally honest as I can. The Mossberg receivers will get buttery smooth, the older ones. But I'm telling you, they're not quite as buttery smooth as an 870, okay? So either one would be a great option. I'm not saying either one would or would not be. I have grown to know and love the Remington 870. So that would be my preference. Because so many departments went with the 870 and not the Mossberg 500, and this was the gold standard of security or tactical shotguns, you are going to find many more deals when it comes to a Remington 870 than you are a Mossberg 500, hence why, if I could only choose one, it would be the 870 every day of the week. There is one thing that I would most definitely prefer on the Mossberg versus the 870, and that would be these lift gates here. I really don't like the fact that I have to depress this to get my rounds in there. It's fine in theory, and in practicing it at home, I don't really have a lot of issues. But at the range, with gloves, when it's raining, when it's 5 degrees outside with wind chill, it is very annoying to get everything caught up in these lift gates, including your fingers. So having a Mossberg just loading gate area that I can just drop the round in and get it right in, ready to go, definitely preferred. That would be the only preference I would have, is just these are a little annoying to get to. And I would choose Mossberg's loading gate over the 870 loading gate. But triggers, everything else in the gun is absolutely excellent. And I know many of you are saying, well, Joe, why would you choose a pump action over a semi-automatic? Semi-automatics, in my experience, if you choose the right one, can definitely be 100% reliable. If I could only choose one shotgun, I would still choose a pump action. And the reason for that is still, occasionally, I will bring a semi-automatic shotgun to the range and, okay, it's a little too crudded up, or okay, I got to replace my O-rings, or it's not liking this low brass, weirdly, it only likes the high brass, like all of that stuff, throw it right out the window with a pump action shotgun. This receiver here, without a doubt, is probably from the 60s. Just with the overall design of this 870 and the fact that it's a Wingmaster, you can see how worn the finish is on the inside. It's freaking stainless up in there. And I broke this out of the box, slopped off all the extra just crap that was in there, brought it to the range, cycled every possible thing I could put through it other than the mini shells. I mean, it's very rare that you're going to get that reliability from a semi-automatic. And ultimately, you're not going to get into a semi-automatic at the price that these shotguns are at, which is why, again, I would go for the pump action. The value alone just can't be beat. Hopefully, you guys found this video somewhat interesting. Do you agree with me? Am I full of shit? I don't know. Let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, stay tuned for more great content coming soon.